Welcome back to Transcriber from Reddit. Today's topic comes from the exLutheran subreddit, posted by user positive-can2851. This post is a text post titled Rhetorical Questions for Lutherans. The post reads as follows. Inspired by a post made by a creepy, quote, educated, end quote, Lutheran lurker asking who hurt us, I have some, parentheses, rhetorical, end parentheses, questions for the other lurkers. Feel free to add your own below, smiley face. 1. Did you attend higher education? If so, was it a Lutheran college that taught creationism? Do you believe in dinosaurs? How old is the Earth? 2. Do you have any gay friends? Does your, quote, gay friend, end quote, consider you a friend? Would you go to your gay friend's wedding? Or do your, quote, intellectual, end quote, Lutheran beliefs forbid you from doing so? Would you have dinner with your gay friend and his husband? Must be exhausting to decide which people you can and can't be around. 3. Where are you from? How long has your family lived there? Did you know that the biggest indicator of religious belief is geography? 4. Have you ever met someone who's trans? Have you had a conversation with them and actively listened to their story? Since the Bible is largely silent on trans people, where do you get your information from? Trans people or Fox News? 5. Which do you believe more? A real-life homosexual that tells you he was born this way, or a few Bible verses that at best demonstrate an underdeveloped, antiquated comprehension of human sexuality? 6. You made a note of how intelligent you are. How many prominent Lutheran scientists, academics, or even politicians can you name? Parentheses. Note. Lutheran is in all caps. Not Christian. End parentheses. 7. What is your definition of morality? Does it come from the Bible? If so, do you find all non-Lutherans inherently immoral? That's a pretty bleak outlook. 8. If you had been born just a century ago, your church likely would have justified human slavery using Bible verses. Would you have done the same? Does that bother you? 9. Do you have a skincare routine? Many in the church would have benefited from some daily SPF. Hopefully it's not too late for you, honey. 10. Do you believe in multiple universes? What about aliens? If so, why does God say humans are special and were created in His image? Does He just say that to everyone? As of recording, this has 40 upvotes and 30 comments. I'm going to highlight some of the comments down below. As a fellow X-Wells myself. User Jellybean1424 comments, oh, this is great. I have a few additional questions. 1. For the church COVID minimizers. In 2020, if you thought wearing a mask or staying home represented a, quote, lack of faith, end quote, what stops you from walking in front of a bus? Is it your lack of faith? 2. If God gave people the intelligence to use science to improve medical care and reduce mortality, why are you so against vaccines? And if dying from a preventable disease is God's will, why not also get rid of all prescription medications, cancer treatments, etc.? 3. If you truly believe that Jesus loved everyone, why did you vote for and support Trump, who is openly hateful of so many people? 4. Why do you think, quote, freedom of religion, end quote, should involve legally forcing your own religious beliefs on others? If you don't want an abortion, why don't you just not have one? Do you think it would be acceptable for the US government to legislate based on the beliefs believe the user meant of Islam? How about the Church of Satan? User JJ Kraker comments, if your morality comes solely from the Bible, do you think it should be imposed on people who don't believe in the Bible? Follow-up, do you think people with morality defined by other religious/non-religious beliefs should be able to impose their morality on you? User positive-can2851 responds to JJ Kraker's comment saying, oh, I like these ones. Follow-up to your follow-up. Should legislators impose biblical morality on the people at large? Should America be a Lutheran theocracy? Would women even be allowed to vote in that type of system? User Recovering Lutheran also comments, if your morality comes only from the Bible, this part is in all caps, where did you miss the lessons, end caps, of lead your own life and don't force your life/lifestyle on your neighbor? That is a two-way street, by the way. User Emmalou-esque, spelled Emmalou-esq, posts in a separate comment, mainly for Wells people. What are your thoughts on the Pope? Is he the Antichrist as the Wells teaches? What about Muslims and Jews? Do you know anything about any other religions outside of the Wells? Do you believe in demonic possession? Don't you think Examination Sunday is ridiculously unnecessary for kids being confirmed? As for anyone asking who hurt us, I think many of us can point to our pastors. User positive-can2851 responds to this saying, oh, the demonic possession bit is scary. Imagine the church adult in your life decides you're, quote, troubled, end quote, and screams at you until you have a nervous breakdown. How many of the, quote, demon-possessed, end quote, people, even in the Bible, were just scared queer teens who nobody bothered to understand? In a separate comment, user Here for the Wine says, I wish I could upvote this more than once. User Dilapidated Dinosaur says, I'm a queer trans minister who probably needs a skincare routine. Emoji of a black person shrugging. I'm out here trying to do my best, not be an asshole, love my neighbors, and tell people about my favorite dinosaur. Also, not a fan of popes in general, but the current one seems like a cool dude. User Fogliss says, addition to number 4, you absolutely have interacted with someone who is trans before, and you had no idea. You treated them as the man or woman they identify as. How does that make you feel? User Baby Bard 93 says, 9 for the win. Crying laughing emoji face. Seriously though, I was icked out as well, but too busy to respond this weekend. I'd add this question. 11. If God is omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent, why would they set up a fool's dilemma for their creation? They knew the test in the Garden of Eden would fail. They knew that they'd have to offer propitiation via the sacrifice of their own person in human form. They knew from eternity that 95% of humankind would reject, parentheses, or never hear of, end parentheses, the Judeo-Christian God. So 95% of those people whom they claim to love so much would suffer eternal conscious torture in hell, regardless of their exposure to, quote, the word, end quote. You're okay with this? You believe that the baby born in rural China who never heard the name, quote, Jesus, end quote, and died of encephalitis at 3 days old is burning in hell? Help me out here. Without dodging via the old, quote, God is just, and who are we to question his ways? They are far above our understanding, end quote. If, quote, the Bible is clear, end quote, then that baby is in hell. In response, user positive-can2851 responds with, "Great ad. I think they call the second part, quote, predestination, end quote, which is a fancy way of saying God chooses who he wants in heaven." They get super is in all caps, uncomfortable talking about that, and I don't think they even teach it in catechism anymore. Parentheses. For good reason, because it's weird, weird is in all caps, AF, LOL, end parentheses. In a separate comment, user Forever Swinging says, "Great list. Here's another one. In regards to the abuses, spiritual, physical, sexual, that get discussed here on the sub, parentheses, and this is in all caps, which isn't your own sub, end caps, and parentheses. Why doesn't the well submit to the secular authorities in order to best protect the flock?" User CU Hacks, spelled CUHACS, comments, "I have same-sex tendencies. I left the ELCA and headed east to Orthodoxy, where I wasn't viewed as a parasite, but as a person. What I am going to say might shock some of you, but becoming Orthodox made me realize who I am. I found my identity in Christ, and honestly, I want to be a good son. That means not acting on my attraction. It's breaking away from acting on this attraction and being able to be truly free. I don't have to worry about being accepted, viewed as other, heartbreak, etc. I can truly be happy with who I am." I'm not sure if CU Hacks understands what the question for this post, or what was being posed in this post. There's no number associated with their response. So I'm just a little concerned with the fact that this seems out of place for this particular subreddit post. But underneath that main comment, user BabyBard93 responds saying, I kind of doubt anybody here is, quote, shocked, end quote, by side B gays. Many of us who left conservative Lutheranism are pretty familiar with the mental contortions needed to rationalize forced celibacy due to SSA. Parentheses. Side note, if you felt like you were viewed as a, quote, parasite, end quote, in an ELCA congregation, you were in the wrong congregation. So many of them are now reconciled through Christ churches and completely accepting and affirming toward gays, end parentheses. On the other hand, if you believe that acting on same-sex attraction is sinful and you must therefore be celibate, your religious community is in no way accepting of you. I covered this subreddit and many of the comments beneath this subreddit post precisely because I cover primarily religious, especially WELS religious abuses. Having been in the WELS myself and now in the process of dealing with family members that are still in the WELS, I cover this kind of material precisely because I've been there and this stuff needs to be more widely talked about. Pastors and teachers are very good at shutting down this kind of conversation and these kinds of topics. They're very good at creating an area that's insulated, that encourages the same groupthink, that does not encourage any kind of respect or listening to outside opinions, or seriously considering outside opinions. If you were to bring any of these questions up to any of your pastors or teachers, some of them might be different in that they might try to encourage you to answer, but then they'll try to encourage you to change your answer according to their own worldview. And that is not something that should be acceptable. It's not your worldview if someone else has to tell you the right answer. And I want everyone who's watching/listening to this feel comfort in the fact that regardless of what you believe and regardless of how you came to that, your beliefs are valid and the way you came to those beliefs is valid. Whatever it may be, it's valid. I am not here to tell you what you should and shouldn't believe or that you're wrong. Unfortunately, the Wells is that way, which is how I continue to get content about it. Thank you for watching/listening. Please consider liking, subscribing, sharing, leaving a comment down below, and I will see you in the next video.